Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another Terror and Urban Myths. If you're enjoying the show, please remember to hit that subscribe button and give us a like. It really helps us out. So today, we're going to be going back to medieval Spain to explore a legend, the legend of Santiago Matamoros, or as he's sometimes called, St. James the Moor Slayer.
It's a very captivating story, and also controversial, reflecting a time of great upheaval and religious fervor.
Yeah, a really fascinating time. So, let's imagine the Iberian Peninsula. Way back in the year 738, it's been conquered by the Umayyad Caliphate, this vast Muslim empire that stretches across North Africa and into Europe. Only a very small Christian kingdom in the north resists.
And this kingdom, clinging to its faith and its independence, is forced to pay this humiliating tribute to the Emirate of Cordoba, 100 virgin maidens annually. It was a stark reminder of their vulnerability and the power dynamics at the time.
Wow. Imagine the fear and uncertainty that those young women must have faced. It's a heartbreaking image that really sets the stage for the drama that unfolds.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's against this backdrop of oppression that the legend of Santiago Matamoros takes root. This is a story about divine intervention, a miraculous victory against seemingly impossible odds. And it all centers around this pivotal moment in 844. We have King Ramiro I of Asturias, this bold and defiant leader. He decides he's had enough. He refuses to pay the tribute.
Wow. That was a daring move. One that could have spelled disaster for his kingdom.
Absolutely. Abdurrahman II, the emir of Cordoba, is furious. He gathers this vast army and marches north to crush the rebellious Christians.
Yeah. It's a classic David and Goliath scenario. The Christian forces, vastly outnumbered, outmatched, find themselves facing annihilation.
No, total annihilation. So this is where the story takes a turn toward the legendary. The two armies clash at Albelda.
But the Christians, despite their valiant efforts, are forced to retreat to the Clavijo castle, which is perched high atop Mount Laterce.
Besieged, wounded, demoralized, the situation seems utterly hopeless. Imagine being trapped on that mountain, knowing that a vast enemy army surrounds you. It's a chilling thought. But just when all hope seems lost, King Ramiro has a vision.
Oh. And this is where the legend truly blossoms. The Apostle St. James appears to Ramiro first, not just as a comforting presence, but as a warrior, a divine champion.
Yeah. And St. James doesn't just offer words of encouragement, he promises victory.
He assures Ramiro that he will personally intervene in the battle, appearing at dawn on a white horse, wielding a sword, and carrying a white banner. It's a powerful image, one that resonates with the soldier's deepest fears and hopes.
So Ramiro, emboldened by this vision, rallies his troops. He shares the divine promise, igniting a spark of hope in their heart.
Right. Imagine the impact of this vision on the demoralized soldiers. Suddenly, they're not just fighting for their lives, but for their faith, for their very souls.
Yeah, and the following morning, the Christians charge into battle with renewed vigor, their battle cry echoing across the valley, Santiago!
It's the first time in Spanish history that this cry is heard, a cry that will become synonymous with the Reconquista, the centuries-long struggle to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula from Muslim rule.
And as the sun rises, a brilliant ray of light pierces the clouds, illuminating a lone figure on a white horse, sword gleaming, charging into the heart of the enemy lines.
And the Muslim troops, terrified by this apparition, are thrown into disarray. They flee in panic, believing that a celestial warrior has descended upon them.
Wow. The Christians, witnessing this miraculous turn of events, attribute their victory to the intervention of St. James. They hail him as Santiago Matamoros, the Moor Slayer, their divine champion.
It's a decisive moment, one that will shape the course of Spanish history and identity.
So King Ramiro Leibest, filled with gratitude, establishes the vow of St. James, pledging that Christians will make a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela, bringing offerings to honor the apostle who delivered them from certain defeat.
This vow will lead to the development of the Way of St. James, a pilgrimage route that will attract millions of people over the centuries, transforming Santiago de Compostela into a major Christian pilgrimage site.
But before we delve further into the impact of this legendary battle, we need to take a step back and examine it through a more critical lens.
Okay.
Because while the story of the Battle of Clavijo is undeniably compelling, it's essential to consider the historical context and weigh it against other accounts of time.
Yeah.
And that's where things get a bit more complicated. So, are you saying there's more to this story than meets the eye?
Well, let's start by acknowledging that the primary source for the Battle of Clavijo is a 12th century transcription of what's claimed to be a 9th century document. That's a considerable gap, and it raises some questions about the story's accuracy.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like we need to dig a little deeper then.
Exactly. And when we do, we find some intriguing discrepancies. For instance, contemporary chronicles from the 9th century, both Christian and Muslim, make no mention of a battle at Clavijo. That's a pretty significant omission for what's supposed to be a decisive victory.
So, where does that leave us? Are we to believe that this monumental event simply vanished from the historical record?
Well, not necessarily. There are other historical accounts, particularly from Asturian and Leonese sources, that suggest a different narrative. They point to Ramiro's son, Ordoño, as the key figure in the events that may have inspired the legend.
Oh, so Ordoño I, not Ramiro I.
That's right. These sources indicate that it was Ordoño I who besieged the city of Albelda and established his base on Mount Laterce, the very location of the legendary Battle of Clavijo.
Right, and wasn't Albelda the site of two crucial battles during the Reconquista?
Precisely. There were two significant battles fought at Albelda, one in 852 and another in 859. And in both cases, it was Ordoño I, not Ramiro I, who led the Christian forces.
So, we're starting to see some cracks in the traditional narrative. So what does all this mean for our understanding of the Battle of Clavijo?
Well, it's possible that what the legend compresses into a single dramatic day under Ramiro I actually represents a much longer period, perhaps even 7 years, of Ordoño I's military campaigns.
Are you suggesting that the Battle of Clavijo as we know it never happened?
It's likely that the legend, as it's come down to us, is a fusion of multiple events, a blend of historical fact and symbolic storytelling.
Okay. But what about the appearance of St. James? That's a pretty central element of the story.
Yes. The divine intervention. It's certainly a compelling detail, one that captures the imagination. But from a historical perspective, we need to approach such claims with a degree of skepticism.
So you're saying we should take the story with a grain of salt?
Exactly. It's not about dismissing the legend entirely, but understanding it within its historical context.
Okay. So if the Battle of Clavijo might be more legend than fact, why is it so important? What makes it so enduring?
That's a great question, and it leads us to the heart of what makes this story so fascinating. Even if the battle itself is shrouded in myth, its impact on Spanish history and culture is undeniable. The belief in St. James's intervention, whether literal or symbolic, fueled the Reconquista, shaping Spanish national identity for centuries to come.
It's incredible how a story, even one potentially rooted in legend, can have such a profound impact.
It speaks to the power of belief, especially in times of conflict and uncertainty.
Yeah. It's like a rallying cry, a symbol of hope in the face of adversity.
Precisely.
And it's that enduring power that we'll explore further as we continue our journey through the legend of Santiago Matamoros. But before we do, let's take a moment to consider the significance of the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela, the Way of St. James.
That's right. The legend we've been discussing played a crucial role in establishing Santiago de Compostela as a major Christian pilgrimage destination, rivaling even Jerusalem and Rome.
It's amazing to think of all those people, from all walks of life, traveling for hundreds of miles, often on foot, just to reach this sacred site. What motivated them?
Well, multiple factors were at play. The vow of St. James, established by King Ramiro I, created a sense of religious obligation, but there was also a deep-seated belief in the power of St. James's intercession, a hope for healing, forgiveness, or divine favor.
So it wasn't just about fulfilling a religious duty.
Not at all. The pilgrimage was a transformative experience, a journey of both body and spirit. It was a chance to connect with something larger than oneself, to find solace and meaning in a world often filled with hardship and uncertainty.
And it wasn't just individuals who undertook this arduous journey, right?
That's correct. Kings and nobles, seeking divine favor or political legitimacy, often made the pilgrimage, donating vast sums of money and land to the church in Santiago de Compostela. The pilgrimage became a major economic and political force, shaping the landscape of medieval Europe.
It's fascinating how this one legend, whether entirely factual or not, had such far-reaching consequences.
It's a testament to the power of stories and how they can shape our understanding of the world, both past and present. And it's a reminder that the line between history and legend is often blurred, creating a rich and complex tapestry of human experience.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. From the historical context of the legend to the impact of the pilgrimage, it's been quite a journey.
It's a journey that reveals the enduring power of belief, the allure of the unknown, and the complexities of human history.
And it leaves us with some intriguing questions to ponder as we continue our exploration of the legend of Santiago Matamoros.
Indeed. There's still much to uncover, much to debate, and much to appreciate about this captivating tale. It's fascinating how this legend has woven itself into the fabric of Spanish culture. It's more than just a historical tale. It's a symbol of national identity, a source of pride and inspiration.
Yeah, it's like separating the threads of a tapestry. You can see the individual strands, the historical events, the cultural influences, but they're all interwoven to create a single unified image.
Precisely. And that image, the image of Santiago Matamoros, the warrior saint charging into battle, has resonated with the Spanish people for centuries. It speaks to their resilience, their faith, their unwavering determination.
And it's not just about military might, right? There's a deeper spiritual element here.
Absolutely. The legend taps into that human need for something to believe in something larger than ourselves. Especially during times of turmoil and uncertainty, people crave hope, feeling that there's a guiding force, a protector.
And Santiago Matamoros provided that he became this symbol of divine intervention, reassurance, that God was on their side.
And that belief that faith fueled the Reconquista, it gave the Christian kingdoms a sense of purpose.
Yeah, almost like a divine mandate to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula.
In a way, it provided this powerful narrative, a justification for their actions.
And that unity, that shared belief, is evident in the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela.
Ah, yes, the Way of St. James. It's a testament to the enduring power of this legend.
It's remarkable that people were willing to undertake such arduous journeys, often facing incredible hardships, just to reach this sacred site.
It speaks to the depth of their faith, their longing for a connection with the divine, and it highlights the role of Santiago de Compostela as a symbol of Christian triumph, a beacon of hope.
And the pilgrimage wasn't just a spiritual endeavor, was it? It had a significant impact on the social and economic landscape of Europe.
Absolutely right. The influx of pilgrims brought wealth and prosperity to towns and cities. Along the route, monasteries and churches flourished. Trade networks expanded.
It's like this legend created a ripple effect, impacting not just religious beliefs, but also the fabric of society.
It's a perfect example of how a story, even one rooted in legend, can have a real impact.
And that impact continues to this day. People from all over the world still make the pilgrimage.
That's the remarkable thing about these legends. They transcend time and place.
I'm curious, though, knowing that the accuracy of the Battle of Clavijo is questionable, does it diminish the power of the legend?
I don't believe so. Legends often contain deeper truths, even if they're not historically accurate. They reflect the values and beliefs of the people.
It's like those values are encoded in the DNA of the story.
Precisely. And in the case of Santiago Matamoros, the legend speaks to the Spanish people's resilience, their faith, their belief in a higher power.
And those themes still resonate with people today.
Absolutely. The struggle between good and evil, the triumph of faith over adversity, the importance of national identity. These are timeless themes.
It's what gives the story its power. It's not just about a battle. It's about the human spirit overcoming challenges and finding hope.
And that's something we can all relate to.
It's fascinating to consider how this legend has evolved over time. What was once a tale of religious warfare has taken on new meanings.
That's the beauty of legends. They adapt as society evolves.
So how do we understand the legend of Santiago Matamoros in today's world?
It's a complex question, one that's generated considerable debate.
I can imagine the image of St. James slaying Moors can be seen as problematic, even offensive.
It's a sensitive issue for some. The legend represents a triumphalist narrative, a glorification of conquest.
While others see it as a reminder of a painful history.
It's important to acknowledge both perspectives and engage in a thoughtful dialogue.
So how do we reconcile this legend with modern values of tolerance?
One approach is to focus on the symbolic aspects rather than the literal interpretation.
So instead of a historical account of a battle, we see it as a metaphor for the struggle between good and evil.
Exactly. We can also acknowledge the historical context without condoning the violence.
It's about understanding the past, not glorifying it.
Precisely. And it's also about recognizing the multiple perspectives. For some, it's a source of pride. For others, a reminder of a painful history.
It's a story that challenges us, forces us to confront difficult questions.
And as we continue to learn, it's important to approach these legends with curiosity and critical thinking.
Seeking a deeper understanding.
Exactly. And that leads us to another aspect of the impact on art, literature, and culture.
It's amazing how this story has inspired countless works of art.
From epic poems to sculptures and music, the legend has permeated Spanish culture.
It's like a visual and literary tapestry.
And each generation has added its own interpretation, ensuring its relevance.
So even though we may never know for certain what happened, the legend continues to inspire us.
And that's a testament to its power. It really is remarkable how this one legend has just permeated so many aspects of Spanish culture.
Yeah, it's like it's a thread through their history,
Yeah.
their art, their national identity.
A thread with many colors. Some bright and inspiring, others dark and troubling.
You know, one aspect we haven't touched on yet is the legend's connection to the Spanish Reconquista. It's a period of history, often shrouded in myth and misunderstanding.
Absolutely. The Reconquista, spanning over 7 centuries, was a very complex and often brutal conflict between Christian and Muslim kingdoms for control of the Iberian Peninsula.
And the legend of Santiago Matamoros played a pretty significant role in shaping the narrative of that conflict.
Absolutely. The image of St. James as this warrior saint, fighting alongside the Christian armies, became a very, very powerful symbol of their struggle, almost like a divine justification for their conquests.
It's almost as if the legend provided a spiritual armor, emboldening the Christian forces and instilling fear in their enemies.
And it's important to acknowledge that this legend was often used to justify acts of violence and intolerance against Muslims and other religious minorities.
It's a dark side of the story, a reminder that even the most inspiring legends can be twisted and manipulated.
Precisely. And it's a reminder that we must always approach these historical narratives with a critical eye, questioning the motives and biases of those who tell them.
But even with its complexities and controversies, the legend of Santiago Matamoros continues to fascinate us.
It's a story that speaks to the enduring power of belief, the allure of the unknown, and the complexities of human history.
Yeah. It reminds us that history is never black and white. It's a tapestry woven with threads of truth, myth, and interpretation.
And it's up to us to carefully examine those threads, to understand the context in which they were woven, and appreciate the richness and diversity of human experience they represent.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the legend of Santiago Matamoros.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to Terror and Urban Myths. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like if you enjoyed the show. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those minds open.